Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Let's start our video with a story in which OP, a seasoned haunt actor, faces off with a Karen during the final night of the season. Anyway, the haunt ended on a chaotic note, but OP's already looking forward to next year's scares. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with a turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. House haunting with a side of Karen. I, female 31, have been working in haunt since 2019. It's a job I look forward to working every year. Between the chance to make people scream, pee, laugh, or generally freak without repercussion, it's a good time. And I still have the chance to put some of my safety training to use. For example, if you're 1 foot in the door and sobbing, you're clearly not having fun and you're a risk to yourself and others, so it's part of my job to pull you aside while my room 2 partner, female 29, entertains the rest of the group. I break character, calm you down, and explain that 1, everyone here's an actor and nothing can hurt you, and 2, there's no shame if you can't move forward because we want you to have fun. We offer you the chance to stay or go and ask if you'd like a member of staff to wait with you if all your friends are going ahead so that you're not standing outside alone. Of course, for safety's sake, we have several rules. No children under the age of 10, no drugs or alcohol, no cursing or foul language. Obviously, if you get freaked out and drop an F-bomb, that's different from cussing out and abusing the actors. We know that. You know, basic. We have minors who work here, please don't be jerks rules. One rule we have, the one that gets constantly ignored and is possibly the most dangerous, is to not touch things. We have fragile props and electrical equipment that you could break or hurt yourself on. Also, the actors are people, and you could hurt them as well. And we, since we don't want the liability, can't touch you. For the most part, it's a good system. However, we do get the occasional freak-out punch thrown our way, and we have codes in the haunt to hold our guests in one room to give management time to make sure any laid-out actors don't need medical assistance. All this set up to say, the job's a lot of fun, but it does come with some potentially high stakes physically, mentally, and emotionally. However, because they know this, management has given us essentially a blank check to call them to remove guests who are behaving poorly. In any case, last night was the final night for haunting for the season. It started more or less as normal, and my partner and I were bopping right along, sending people through, warning the people who needed to be warned, etc. Overall, a pretty reasonable, calm night. Until everything devolved into chaos. It started with a group of 5 teens, mixed boys and girls, probably between the ages of 13 and 15. They seemed normal. The only thing we noted about them was that another girl came in a little belatedly, then went back out to come in with her mother and another girl her age. Didn't think much of it, sent them on their way, then brought in the next group. The mother in the following group was, surprise, surprise, our Karen for the evening. She didn't look like much, and right up until she decided to touch one of our props with her umbrella, it was raining, there's no coat check, so she got to bring it in. She didn't act like she was going to be a problem, but because she was touching things, she got the same dressing down that everyone else got by my partner. The character has a hot head and she yells at you for rule violations. It's part of the act and the best way to get people to listen and follow the rules. Usually. However, Karen decided to push her luck by walking over to my partner and putting her umbrella against my partner's collarbone. My partner yelled at her not to touch her, because of course she did, and Karen looked absolutely livid, spitting out a disgusted, "Are you serious?" when she was told yes, that this wasn't a bit, and that her behavior was unacceptable. She started to storm out, taking the girls with her. My partner and I followed. After all, we assumed she misunderstood. We attempted to explain that she could go through, she just couldn't go around touching things or people. Now, for a bit more background, room 1's a bit like a long double S-curve hallway. It's got corners you go around, and there are places for actors to stand, sit, crouch, whatever, but it's narrow. 2 people might be able to walk side by side, but they'd have to be pretty little. I'm personally a pretty thick woman. I'm not going to get into details, that's just the honest truth. If I stand correctly, I can easily fill that whole walking path. My partner is also decent sized, though not as large as me. The Karen in question's about my partner's size, but almost a whole foot shorter than me, so she's barely scraping 5 feet tall. 1.52 meters for my non-American friends. Suffice to say, there wasn't a lot of room, but in spite of us 3 being larger people, I had space to step back and let her through. However, as she huffed around to prepare to go by me to go back into the haunt, she made it back to the front door by the time she actually slowed down enough to listen to us. She raised both arms and body-checked me into the wall. A purposeful, passive-aggressive shove. And I screamed. I raised my volume as high as it would go, told her not to touch me and that she needed to get out. Right now. Karen looked at me in shock as if I was out of my damn mind. How dare I speak to her like that? How could anyone be so rude to her in front of her children? But my partner backed me up and the Karen left with a quickness, taking her children with her. Just in time for us to get a code red rum from upstairs. Red rum for our haunt means that a guest has become violent and punched one of our actors. I found out later that the group of teens associated with the lady pushed one of our minor actors to the ground and punched her in the face. Now this actor, this girl, was already nervous to be there, partially because of the acting, partially because the house is actually haunted. Whether you believe in that or not, it can get freaky, so I can only imagine how she feels right now. Hopefully I'll see her next week and make sure she's okay. While my partner went to check on the injury, I did a little damage control outside with the line, thanking our guests for their patience and asking them to continue as such because of the emergency. In spite of the cold and wet, most were happy to wait so we could make sure our actor was safe. So what happened with Karen? First, she went to our ticket taker to complain. Our ticket taker, bless her, called one of the 2 owners over to talk to her. Of course, she lied after my partner got her side of the story out, saying she never touched her, that all she touched was the skull on the desk, but she slipped up and admitted that she just rested her umbrella against her chest, and that was enough for our manager to call her out on her lie. She also came back later and tried to complain to one of our maintenance men, saying we, my partner and I, were rude to her. Like our ticket taker, he called one of the owners. Shocker, she got the same owner who essentially told her, "I'll talk to you, but let's take a walk." Apparently, her youngest daughter also called the maintenance man a jerk during this whole process, so Karens beget Karens, unfortunately. No police were called, but my partner and I are split about what kind of future we wish for. I hope she has a come-to-Jesus moment where she realizes she's being a jerk and turns her life around. My partner hopes that she suffers a lifetime of watching everyone else around her get everything they ever wanted while she gets left behind. Either way, the rest of the night was fine, and I'm already looking forward to next year. Damn, I've read other haunted house stories, and you guys should get combat pay. People get weird when they're scared, and even weirder when they're scared and pretending not to be. I hope the girl was okay. And our next story. My neighbor excavated my property without permission. I own a wooded lot on a private lane in Utah, a serene piece of land filled with towering trees and thick underbrush. The main water line and 4 lateral water lines run along the south side of my property within a recorded utility easement that goes east to west. One of those lateral lines belongs to my neighbor to the northeast. Recently, his water line broke. Instead of repairing it along the original path within the easement, he decided to take matters into his own hands. Without any conversation, handshake, or even a heads up, he brought a full-size excavator onto my property, not along the easement, but straight through the dead center of my land, running north to south. My yard became a highway for a trench, and in the process, he leveled about 30 trees and thick underbrush that can't be replaced. I confronted him the next day. "What do you think you're doing on my property?" I asked, trying to keep my anger in check. He looked up from his work, not a hint of remorse on his face. "My water line broke. Had to replace it," he said casually. "Then why didn't you stick to the utility easement on the south side? Or at least ask for permission before tearing through my land?" He shrugged, took the shortest route, Besides, I have the right. It's a prescriptive easement, an easement by necessity. I was incredulous. There's no recorded easement allowing you to cut through the middle of my property. You can't just decide that on your own. He smirked. I've been using this land for years. I can do what I need to maintain my access. You've destroyed 30 trees. Do you realize the damage you've caused? He waved a hand dismissively. Trees grow back, not my problem. Frustrated and feeling utterly violated, I checked my title report. There was no documentation supporting his claims. It appeared he chose the most convenient path for himself, ignoring any legal boundaries or the previous line from when the houses were built in the late 70s. Update. Realizing that a simple conversation wasn't going to resolve this, I decided to consult a property attorney. After reviewing my property documents and the lack of any recorded easement granting him the right to do what he did, the attorney confirmed that my neighbor had overstepped his boundaries literally and legally. With legal counsel, I filed a formal complaint against my neighbor for trespassing and property damage. When he was served with the notice, he seemed taken aback. He confronted me, this time without his earlier confidence. "You're really taking this to court?" he asked. I looked him straight in the eye. "You left me no choice. You destroyed my property without permission and refused to take responsibility." He scoffed. "Good luck proving anything." The legal process was lengthy, but the evidence was clear. Photos of the destroyed trees, the unapproved trench through my property, and the absence of any legal easement in the title reports. In court, his claims of a prescriptive easement and easement by necessity didn't hold water, especially given that there was an existing utility easement he chose to ignore. In the end, the judge ruled in my favor. My neighbor was ordered to compensate me for the damages and restore my property as much as possible. He was also instructed to reroute his water line within the proper utility easement. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.